Hi everyone, welcome to the Navigating Neurodiversity podcast. Today's episode is part of our lived experience series where we invite neurodivergent individuals to come and share with us their stories in their own words. So today, welcome to Ray Er. Ray is currently completing his diploma in Chinese Studies at Ngee Poly on the Chinese Language Teacher Training Sponsorship. And Ray has just made his way here after a long day of classes. So thank you so much, Ray, for spending your evening here with us. Okay, so the first question, we'll ask Ray to tell us a bit about your background and what sparked your interest or passion for Chinese.
Hello everyone, I'm Ray and I'm a person on the spectrum. So what inspired my interest in Chinese was because of my grandparents, as my grandma was a former Chinese language teacher and my granddad was an art teacher but very interested in Chinese culture, especially calligraphy and painting, and I also gained a lot from him. So it was from this exposure with my grandparents that I managed to gain quite a bit of interest in Chinese language.
Wonderful. So you grew up in a very cultured family, surrounded by this calligraphy and Chinese culture and so on. So Ray, what have you been busy with these days? Tell us, what's a typical day like for you?
So I'm now studying in the diploma in Chinese Studies in Ngee Polytechnic. And right now I'm at my final semester before I graduate from poly. So as I'm on the Chinese Language Teacher Training Sponsorship, I'm now at NIE for Chinese Language Teacher Training. So going to and fro from NIE takes around 2 hours each because I live in the East and it's a long commute there. And I have long and short days at NIE. So on long days, I will normally be at NIE from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. But on short days, I will be having lessons either in the morning or afternoon. And for the rest of the time, before or after class, I would just sit at the NIE library, just completing some outstanding schoolwork and just doing my own things.
Okay, so very much a student kind of lifestyle, right? Okay, Ray, so now let's rewind back to your earlier days, like when you were in primary or secondary school. I'm not sure how much you remember, but maybe tell us about what were some of the challenges that you faced at that time.
So I can't remember, I don't have much recollection as to how I felt back in primary school, but what I remember from primary school was that I was the target for a lot of bullying and name-calling from schoolmates and seniors. And perhaps because of these challenges, making friends from lower primary to upper primary was very challenging. I only made my first friend at P5 as well because of this. But in P6, I also did quite inappropriate and uncomfortable actions towards my friends. So there was a period of time when my friends stayed away from me because I was that creepy to them.
Okay. So you kind of saw that maybe some of the, at least in the upper primary period, maybe some of your own actions also could have contributed to the issues that you have with friendships. But you managed to find a friend when you were in upper primary.
Yes, and I have this special friend who I made from primary 5. Until now, we are still in contact.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She has already graduated from JC and she is now taking a gap year waiting to enter university.
So, Ray, how about secondary school? Were there any challenges that you encountered in secondary?
Yes, so I remember when I was in upper secondary, there were quite a number of schoolmates who were very active socially. Like they would always hang out after class or during holidays as well. But as I saw more of this, I started to feel like self-pity, feel bad for myself. I would often feel inferior because I just didn't have that much of a social life as compared to them. And not only in the social aspect, academics was also an issue as well because unlike now, I was quite inconsistent back in primary and secondary school. So for many of my subjects, I was quite inconsistent in my results. And I had to put in more effort than others just to buck up.
Right. Thanks for sharing with us, Ray. Now, what do you think were some of the misunderstandings or misconceptions that people have about autistic people?
So, fortunately, I wasn't the target for many misconceptions or misunderstandings, and that's a good thing. But perhaps one misconception I can give about persons with autism is that people tend to think that persons with autism have learning disabilities. They cannot learn as well as their normal counterparts, and they also exhibit a lot of weird behaviors. But the thing is, the actual name of autism itself is ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. It is like a spectrum where persons like me have higher functioning autism. They function as well as like normal people, and they also lead more or less normal lives as their normal counterparts. But there are also indeed persons with autism whose symptoms are more severe in that they cannot do things independently. They cannot even do simple tasks by themselves as well. So for this type of people, they need a lot of support. So there is a wide variation, like a spectrum, and that's why it's known as autism spectrum disorder. So I would say that for this misconception, if I were to use a Chinese saying, is that we cannot 一竿子打翻一条船. We cannot overgeneralize the fact that persons with autism have so many problems in that they are considered unbearable by the society. Because you never know whether persons with autism have, special strengths or special abilities that set them apart from others.
Yeah, that's right. I think a very common saying in the community is that, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism, because it's such a wide spectrum, right? And that's why, even now we categorize the level of support needs, like what you mentioned. So it could range from low needs to moderate to high needs. Yeah, so that would really vary according to the individual and also according to what areas they might have different support needs. So it's definitely not the case where, every individual with autism is going to have, like what you say, learning challenges as well.
So another misconception I can give about persons with autism is that autism is a curable condition, but the actual thing is it's not. It can only get better through timely intervention and support, as well as other measures like therapy. But if I were to say that it can be cured, then I would disagree with this idea. For my own experience, even through speech therapy and a wide range of support from family, teachers, and peers, I still have my own weaknesses in the social aspect. But I have to agree that even though this condition may be incurable, but through timely intervention and support, things can get better from here.
Yeah, I think that's an important message really to send to parents, that actually the goal of interventions is not necessarily normalization of an individual, but what we're trying to do is to equip them with skills to better cope and function and be an independent young person like Ray here. Okay, Ray, many of our parents do grapple with the question about disclosing the diagnosis to their child. Like should I tell my child that they're autistic? When should I do it? How do I say it? And so on. Yeah. So maybe you could share with us your experience. Like when did you first hear the term autism, and how was the diagnosis shared with you?
Okay, so I have to be frank here. I don't have any recollection as to how I felt when I first knew of the term autism. But what I remember was I got to know about autism not through words, but through my dad's actions. So what I remember was that when I was much younger, my dad, he would always read magazines regarding autism as he was waiting for me to finish lesson. And it was back when I was in upper primary. So it was back in upper primary when I got to know about what autism is, just like have some idea of it. So as I grew older, when I entered secondary school, we had more opportunities to discuss about persons who are less fortunate, who are more needy, and the ones with special needs in the community. And for my group, during one time we did special needs. So it was something that made me deepen my understanding on persons with autism as well. And as I progressed into poly, I had this module on special needs in my specialization. Through this module, I not only managed to gain deeper insights into autism, I also managed to gain some insights into other conditions like ADHD, dyslexia, and even some more uncommon conditions like Tourette syndrome, and so on. So looking back, I'm really grateful that my diploma has this module on special needs because it really proved to me on how inclusive we are really becoming in Singapore. And I believe that it is a great step forward in making an inclusive society as well.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, Ray. So, Ray, I think one thing that maybe a lot of parents or teachers in our audience would be interested to find out also is, was there anything your parents or your teachers did that really helped you feel supported?
Yeah, so I will start with what went at home first. So my dad, he was really loving. He especially took no pay leave for me just to prepare for my PSLE because it was something that I was struggling with, especially the math and sciences with all the tricky problems. And he will also give a lot of practice papers for me to do. Sometimes he will also try to get me to think out of the box as well for some of the questions as well. And as I was preparing for my O-levels, my dad also did the same thing. I can't remember whether he took leave or not, but he would spend time every week just to help me revise my math and sciences so that I gain the conceptual understanding about them. And whenever he has the time, he will also, he has a lot of gadgets and gizmos at home. So whenever he has time, he would sometimes, just to pique my interest, bring in some of the equipment that he has just to help me revise, just to help me gain a better understanding as to how it's being used in daily life.
I see. So Ray, you're saying that your dad actually used his gadgets and things like that. So he used everyday objects to kind of demonstrate concepts to you, to help you to understand. Is that right?
Like special gadgets, and in some of the toys that we have at home, there were also toys related to science as well. So he has a lot of this scientific equipment that he will use just to help me revise. Oh, and I also forgot to mention one thing, is that he will also watch quite pretty interesting videos that he found on YouTube with me, especially when I was revising. And for my PSLE, even though I did not really score as well as we hoped it would be, well, I'm still glad that I managed to pursue secondary school and beyond in maybe not so good, but I would say quite an average and good place.
Yeah. So maybe the takeaway from that is that parents can really explore and try different ways of learning and teaching their child. And it may not be traditional, like just reading books and so on, but really helping the concepts to come alive through a lot of hands-on and multisensory learning. Right? Yeah.
So I also gained a lot of support in school as well. So it happened as I was preparing for my O-levels. So back in secondary 4, my mid-year results wasn't great. So I had to put in a lot of effort just to help me reach the goals that I was hoping for, which was to enter the diploma in Chinese studies. As at the time, my aggregate score wasn't that great as well. It was literally, I wasn't able to make it for that course. So I had to put in a lot more effort. During my O-level prelims, I unfortunately failed my humanities subjects. And I remember towards the end of lesson, I was already tearing up. And my teacher, she came to me to talk to me about the results that I got as well. However, as I got back home, I literally broke down on the bus. But as I reached home, my teacher sent a message to me. She said that even though my results wasn't great, I still improved in my attitude towards my studies. And the very next day as well, one of my form teachers, who also teaches social studies to other classes, he was also willing to step forward to explain to me the feedback he has on how to improve in my answers, how to make it better. So it was quite a rippling effect for me. And it really gave me the motivation to work hard and prepare for my O-levels. And I would say that even until now, I still feel the rippling effects from my teachers' actions.
Okay, Ray, thanks for sharing that. I think, it is a great reminder maybe to our teachers that just some encouraging words showing that they care, maybe taking some time to really show that they believe in you and they know that you can do well. Those little things can really make a big difference that you feel even to today, right? Do you want to name these teachers and, give a shout out to them?
Yeah, so hi Miss Yo, hi Mr. Lee, if you're watching. Yeah, I'm really doing my best now as a trainee teacher in NIE, or rather, I would say a student doing training in NIE right now. And I say that your recognition, it really meant a lot to me. And until now, I'm still feeling the rippling effects of it.
Thanks. Thank you, Ray. Okay, Ray, so what advice would you give to parents, maybe with younger children who are still struggling with, social interactions and friendships, or maybe even older ones who are transitioning into adulthood and, they want them to be more independent?
So I have to say that I can't really give the best advice as independence is something that I'm learning in my speech therapy right now. But I would say that for those who are transitioning to adulthood, I can encourage them, recommend them like courses from the Autism Resource Center. They have a lot of courses on many life skills and interests like photography, Microsoft Office, managing stress at work, and time management and financial literacy. They have a lot of courses. And also persons with autism, they can also make use of there's this grant that they can use to help them pay for their course fees as well. So these courses by the Autism Resource Center is something that I would gladly recommend.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ray. And I would also say that maybe to our parents as well, the ERC also runs a lot of parent training courses that are great. And again, you can also use the caregiver training grant, the CTG, to pay for that.
So what I would say for parents is that intervention is still key, so that children can perform better as they grow up in the future. And I also believe that doing things together as a family really helps as well. It really helps children gain invaluable skills which they can use as they grow up and even as they are transitioning to adulthood as well. So one good example I can give is this particular inclusive family bakery known as Gun Delights. It was set up by a couple whose son has autism, and the couple wanted to set up this bakery so that their son can gain a lot of valuable skills from running their own business. So for the son, he plays a relatively minor role as just penning down a simple message, enjoy, on their baked goods. So even though it's a simple task, but to me, I feel that through writing, it really allows people with autism to express better as well. They may not be too good in words, but as long as there are other forms of a medium like writing as well, I would say really the words on pen and paper, they will really speak louder than words spoken from the mouth as well. One more point is that I also believe that going outdoors more is important as well, as going outdoors is a great way for children to learn a lot of valuable skills as well. However, I would say acceptance is still key, especially among children without special needs. Importantly, parents of children without special needs should educate their children on including and interacting with children and peers who may be different from them. And I believe that through this change in mindset and through this education as well, that Singapore will also be a more inclusive society as well.
Absolutely. So parents, if your child goes back and say, there's this child in class that nobody likes, that nobody plays with, please do encourage your child to, then maybe that's someone that you need to talk to and befriend, and to include them as well. Maybe you can share with us whether, I think sensory differences are quite common among people on the spectrum. So maybe share with us your experience about whether do you experience any, sensory sensitivities?
So I do have sensory sensitivities as well, mostly being visual and sometimes a bit of sound as well. So this is something I never shared before only my family knows about this. I never shared among others as well. Is that I used to be sensitive towards fireworks and confetti. Whenever they appeared on TV or on the movie screen, I would become very agitated and it really triggers a lot of emotional reactions in me, that I would do a lot of actions which are really inappropriate towards others as well. Thankfully, I'm dealing with my sensory challenges to fireworks and confetti better now. So for me, other than self-awareness, it was literally fighting fire with fire. I repeatedly watched videos with fireworks and confetti in it, as this is a reality I'm going to face as a teacher. Who knows whether I will bring my students to watch the Annie show in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example, Ray. Oftentimes when we work with children with phobias or anxiety, that's exactly what we kind of take them through. It's called gradual exposure. And we always say exposure, it's necessary, it's about facing your fears, but perhaps, in a very gradual manner. So you decided to do that yourself, or was it a suggestion from someone like your parents? Or?
What happened was, when I had the sensory challenges with fireworks and confetti and all the inappropriate actions, my mom, especially my mom, would get very upset. She would often remind me, especially after I entered poly, how I should be like as a role model myself. And I remember there was one time when I had this issue, and what she said to me was, she did not give me any good advice, but what she really said was, watch again and again videos with fireworks and confetti in it.
Okay, so your mom's kind of figured out that will kind of desensitize you over time, and then you'll be better able to. And would you say it works? Like mom's advice turned out?
Yeah. I would say that it really is very effective for me.
Yes.
I believe one of the social challenges I have was when I entered poly. Suddenly, so many things changed. I have friends who entered the same diploma in the same poly, and they were already starting to form their own cliques. their own cliques within their own diplomas. Some of my friends have also started romantic relationships with others. So it was this period of time where I really felt a lot of complex emotions, other than being inferior, feeling inferior and self-pity because I had such an unfortunate social life. From the romantic relationships, that part as well, it also triggered fear and jealousy. I have to be honest here, I don't have any romantic feelings yet, but it really triggered fear and jealousy among me. I was really afraid whether the friend that I'm with will really change in his or her personality and his or her own self. And this was really a challenge which I really grappled with during one period of time in poly as well.
Yeah, because I think with every new setting, there's always new friends, and then even existing friends forming their own relationships, and so there's a lot of changes that you needed to deal with, right? So Ray, thanks for sharing with us some of the social challenges you had, especially when you entered poly. Could you share with us also like how, what kind of support, what kind of strategies you used to overcome some of these challenges?
So thankfully, I managed to overcome many social challenges. I believe what made me go through all of this was, it was not just support from many good friends. It was also like self-awareness and thinking of the big picture as well. Because as I progressed in poly, I realized that there are quite a lot of things which are more important to me, like whether it's results and a lot of examinable modules as well. So I would try to figure out what is top priority for me, when is the busiest time of the semester, when is the busiest time of the year, and when is the time where there's a lot of assignments needed to be done. So I would say that thinking of the big picture and prioritizing my own tasks is something that made me like go through the social changes as well. In that I knew that I will not have so much time socially hanging out with other friends like my other peers.
Sure. So you kind of shifted your focus to things that you felt were really important for your future in a way, your grades and Ray, what is one thing that you wish people understood better about autism?
I do wish people know that persons with autism, despite their weaknesses socially and their unusual behaviors, they have their own special abilities, strengths, and interests too. For me, I was blessed to have a huge pool of support from family, friends, teachers, and the community. And I remember when I was in secondary school, practically the whole class was uninterested in mother tongue. But knowing that I have immense interest in mother tongue, my friends still supported me no matter what. They still supported me, even though the road has been challenging, they still supported me to pursue a career in education and to pursue a path that is less ventured among many other Singaporeans, I believe, as well as many of my peers as well. So looking back, while my peers' intentions toward me may not be obvious, they have always been supportive and encouraging of me to pursue a path that is more niche and less ventured among many of my peers as well. And this is something I'm really grateful for. So linking back to the poly module I shared earlier, is that the actual name of the module is not just special needs, but special needs and the exceptional child. I think this name really says it best, as it really recognizes the fact that persons with special needs have a lot of special or even exceptional qualities, strengths, and abilities that are waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, and Ray, look you as an example. I mean, oftentimes when we work with children on the spectrum, quite a number of them do struggle with mother tongue. To be very honest, so they struggle with having both languages and learning both languages. But here you are, right, perfectly bilingual and with a strong interest in Chinese. So I think it's also important. It's an important reminder for us all not to stereotype and to see that what I mentioned earlier, that one person who's autistic, that's one person, right? And they're all very, very different. Okay, so because Ray is going to be a Chinese teacher in the future, we thought we'll ask one last question in Chinese, okay? 所以嘉瑞，我读了你在那个早报里面的一篇文章，就是写到你对新加坡这个双语政策的一些想法，我觉得写得非常好。我必须承认我要用了那个谷歌翻译，我才完全了解它的含义啊。那我想很多家长可能看到你，然后读了你的文章，可能会觉得说他们也希望自己的孩子可能如果他们的孩子有一些学习的障碍啊，或者多动、自闭等等，他们可能会觉得说他希望以后孩子也能像你一样，就是找到自己的一个方向，他们的优势或者自己的爱好，然后可以往那个方向发展。所以对于这些家长来说，你有什么就是可能建议啊，或者鼓励的话对他们说吗？
当然，有必有方，兴趣也必有方。只要不是触法或者是超越界限的行为，我觉得这样的兴趣是值得孩子培养的。我觉得自己能提出一个建议，就是不要过于束缚您的孩子，也不要过于剥夺他们的自由。我个人觉得一些教育政策其实存有弊端，因为特需人士可能因为他们的病症而无法掌握另外一门语言，或者是学习母语。事实上，特需人士他们的兴趣和优势涉足许多方面。如果往语言这方面来讲的话呢，他们可能会对语言比较有天赋，或者是对语言比较感兴趣。要往语言这方面讲，我们也生活在一个多语言、多种族的环境和社会里，所以我觉得特需人士也能够在这方面发挥他们的优势。所以我觉得我们不能小看特需人士的努力。或许特需人士因为他们的兴趣和优势，他们在知识这方面的往往会比一般的人更为精进。正是因为这样，家人、教师和社区应该给予更多的引导和机会，让这些不平凡的特需人士能够全力的发挥自己的优势和潜能，让他们的表现能够更上一层楼。
好，谢谢你，嘉瑞，谢谢你今天来跟我们分享了你的故事，还有你的想法。Thank you so much to Ray for spending his time here with us, and I hope that this episode has been useful for you. And if you've got any comments or questions, leave it down below. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Hey, sorry.
Oh my god, I don't understand. 太 cheap 了，太 cheap 了。But I'll pretend I do. 对，我知道你在讲什么。